sharing your screen. Okay. So let's move this over here. Hello, world.
People, different drugs work more or less well for different
what's
people.
that? Pause.
Some people have to have their colons.
Pause. He's saying some people have to have their colons ripped out of them. I was making a comment. I've now paid for Screencastify. All these videos brought to you by Screencastify. So down here, I'm pointed down. I post on the screen. Can I make an arrow? It looks like an arrow thing. I'm wondering, is this something I can do? How does this work? No arrow. Highlight click. What's this other feature? Focus mouse. Okay, so, oh, that's nice. I like that. So here, 202. Allergy to air, just say no. Allergy to sunlight, just say no. Allergy to your own intestines, just say no. Where is the moment where someone says, hey, this is not a thing. I am being attacked by something outside of myself. Why are you making videos to convert victims to their death or losing their intestines? When I, the resistance, am making one reply to one person at a time. So these are actually really intelligent boys. They don't know anything about food, but they're very intelligent. And let me try and turn off the mouse pointer thing here. Just start the video again. And
immediately, some people can live their whole
so he's
lives
telling
with
us
their colon still inside
about
their body.
his
So
intestines.
I had this one new piece of information, but it opened up all of these other questions. So there wasn't anything certain, except I knew one thing, which is that my future definitely was not going to be what I had imagined it would be. When I was a kid, I was both active and not particularly coordinated. So I broke a number of bones, and I got to know the feeling of what it's like when you break a bone. First, there's the actual feeling, which sometimes you're not sure, but sometimes you are. And then there's another feeling. There's a sudden realization, especially after the third or fourth broken bone, when you've been through this before, that your life is not going to be the same anymore, and there is no way to reacquire that sameness. This is a very particular feeling, and I had it first with broken bones, but I have had it a lot since. It might be having a relationship fall apart, or that moment right before you hit the car that's in front of you, or maybe it's a diagnosis for...
And here's a strange thing. If you drink tea or coffee, the whiskers on your face suddenly jump out. I shaved this morning, and yeah, it's like 1 a.m. again. 10 hours later. Whatever. I don't know where the number 10 came from. I'm trying to say like early in the morning, and it's like 12 hours from 8 to 8 plus another 6. Close to it anyways. 4 is 12. 2 is 2 in the morning. Yeah, close to it. Anyways, so was it 12 and 6 is 18 hours? Still, that's how it feels.
For you or for a loved one, it's such a specific feeling. This moment where you suddenly realize that you don't know what the future holds anymore, and the story you've been quietly, silently telling yourself about what the future is going to be like, that story just falls apart. It's not there anymore. It doesn't get replaced with something. It's just gone. I wanted to know what this feeling is called because it seems so specific that there should be a name for it. I've experienced it a bunch of times. I could not find a word for this in English. I wrote to Susie Dent, who is my favorite game show linguist, and she actually wrote me back on Twitter, and here's what she said. I've been wondering similar for days. I keep returning to withering, a rushing or raging that you're powerless to stop. Emily Bronte described it as an atmospheric tumult. This isn't quite it, but it's like close enough to it that maybe we can make it, because there isn't a word for it. I'm also open to other suggestions in the comments. I've described it as best I can, but I would love for there to be a word. One of the amazing things about a withering is that these moments when you realize that like your expectations aren't going to be met are often the first time you realize you even had these expectations. Like I didn't realize that I had an expectation that I would always be able to eat popcorn, or that I would always have a colon inside of me. Now, of course, many years later, the reality that I might someday have to have my colon removed is a normal, everyday thought to me. It was not.
It shouldn't be.
The expectation.
It's not a normal thought. No one should ever have their colon removed. And like the screen, I don't know why the screen did that. My internet's still here.
I have a.
I don't know. Well, maybe we'll just stop the video there. Because the video stopped itself. How do I stop this video recording? Because like the video has stopped itself.
And we also didn't know, like me and my doctor didn't know how I was going to respond to medications. And first, we start out with the stuff that's been around the longest, that is least likely to work, but has the fewest side effects. And I actually responded really well to it. I started to gain weight. I wasn't in as much pain anymore. I was close to or all the way initial flare.
I don't know if it's recording or if it's paused or what it's doing.
Like, I feel kind of.
What does this do? It's got a pause button.
The doctor
pause recording.
Was wrong about this. Maybe
was this paused when I was talking?
My entire imagining of what my life is going to be.
I'm trying to stop the recording
so I was looking for reasons why it wasn't, right? So I went off my medicine and I immediately went right into a flare that was worse than it ever had been. And it took me a really long time to get that back under control again. Now, this process of like taking the disease really seriously and like understanding that this is something that I'm going to have to live with and that I have a new normal now, and then
what I'm learning from his story is that there's something in the medicine. They're studying the effects on the body.
It isn't real.
And they want him to take the medicine so that they can see, like, can they change his DNA? Because there's fillers and there's other contents in it. And there's no way that anybody can have an intestinal condition where, like, their intestines doesn't work, except if the food is wrong for the body and the genetics aren't compatible. There's such a thing as poison ivy and allergies to food. And he could be ingesting something that's destroying his body. But the medicine, it was like, change your food, and then the medicine shouldn't be an issue.
Ahead that my previous conception of the future used to inhabit, and all of the irrationality and the chaos that comes along with not having anything in that space anymore. I've had this disease for over 15 years, and now I know what I'm doing with it. I understand my life better. It's part of my imagining of my future. The faster you can get to that point, the better. But like, you can't just do it. It can't just happen. First, because it takes a long time to just understand what the future is going to be like. You actually don't know. If somebody could tell you that, that'd be one thing, but they can't, because it's different for different people and we don't actually know. But second, because even if somebody could tell you what normal is like now, you wouldn't believe them. I mean, I know that I couldn't. Your mind's going to be searching for ways to make the story make sense, so it's going to be like swinging around wildly from one extreme to the other, trying to find like the place that actually meshes with like observed reality. Some days your mind is going to find ways to believe that everything is actually the same and that this whole thing is a lie. Other days you're going to swing exactly in the other direction and you're going to be overwhelmed with frustration and fear and anger. And that swinging back and forth isn't like a symptom.
He's telling people that they're kind of like
a strategy.
Swinging back and forth.
This is how we find where normal is. It's like if the
I'm going to explain to you why someone gets upset.
Like, you'd have to balance and
see, he's doing it right now.
To the other to
he's swinging back and forth.
Stability. You might even need to like drop to one knee, right? But then when it stops moving, you'll rise. This process is stressful. It's cognitively taxing. You might be more susceptible to it.
That is emotionally taxing. I should never see that.
I know
that should never happen to anybody.
But eventually, there is a stability there. There is a new version of reality that you can place yourself into. It just takes time to rebuild that. John, if you couldn't tell, talking about this today, and I've been thinking about it a lot.
There's a dot that lets me expand or shrink this box.
The process of getting diagnosed and coming to terms with a chronic illness feels somewhat similar to what's happening right now gestures broad. Like, first, we knew something was wrong. We didn't know how serious it was, so we were trying to figure that out. Then we understood that it was serious. We understood the problem better, but that also threw a bunch of unknowns in our face. And right now, it feels like we're in the part where you're just deluged with uncertainties. And that makes the process of sort of like imagining the future really hard, and that creates inevitable stress and inevitable this wayfinding process of like overreaction, underreaction, and not being sure whether you're doing either at any given moment. But eventually, we do get to a new normal. There will be a stability out there. But even when reality reaches some kind of stable state, it's going to take us, each individually and collectively, a long time to sort of figure out exactly what that is, to actually understand it. And we're going to rock back and forth, and we're going to have moments where we think this isn't a big deal, and moments when we are blissfully free of it, and moments when we are crushed by it. And it's going to suck, but we will catch ourselves and we will rise, because that's what we do. And at least this time, it's going to be something we do together. Like, this isn't going to be the same for everybody. It's going to be much worse.
I like
for
they
some
said
people than
we
for
catch
others.
ourselves
We
and
can
then
go
we
through it
rise.
together
It's
in a
like
way that
fighting other smart people who are destroying them, and they're going to catch themselves under attack by other people who are just as smart as them.
we can't with most withering times. And we can also learn from each other. So here's what I learned from my
I
disruption.
hate the word withering times. That's horrible.
First, I needed to not believe my gut feelings, and I needed to believe my doctor. I needed to do things to create stability in my life. That helped me imagine the future better. I needed to find routines that were livable and enjoyable inside of my new normal. And I needed to rely on other people and accept their help when I needed it. I needed to let myself be weak in the moments when I couldn't be strong, and I needed to let myself be strong in the moments when I could. I hope those learnings are useful to me in the coming months, but even more, I hope they are useful to other people. John, I'll see you on Tuesday.
He did the science show or sci show on YouTube, and he's helping this girl save animals out in Colorado and stuff. And her husband. They're real good people. All right, I'm going to stop this recording. Oh, come on. Stop recording.